What a spot for a morning stroll. Queenstown, just beautiful. Insane that, guys. Today I've planned a bit of a landscape photography trip, and it's not going to be in Queenstown. I'm heading a couple of hours north by car, and I'm going to go to a town called Wanaka, and in that region there's a hike called the Isthmus Peak Track, and it looks spectacular. The weather is meant to be perfect. I'm going up for the sunset, so all going well, if that holds up, we should get some fantastic images. At the top of the mountain, you're kind of in between two huge lakes, Lake Wanaka on the west side and Lake Hawea on the east side. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, it's up on the screen. So I've got a bit of a fair drive ahead of me, so let's go. Hello. That was a quick journey, right? Not for me, that was about 3 hours, but we're here and the landscapes are absolutely stunning. They are so gorgeous around here. I'm only at the start of the track at the minute, but pretty excited for this hike. I think it's going to be wonderful. The weather looks like it might be holding up for us. I think, to be honest, it could go either way, but we'll wait and see. Massively looking forward to this hike. I haven't really been out of Queenstown now for probably about a month, or maybe even 6 weeks, so I'm excited to try out something a little bit different. The landscapes are going to be fairly similar, but that doesn't matter. I think the compositions are going to be lovely today, and I'm so hopeful that we're going to get a nice sunset. I really am. The forecast is still looking fantastic for later on. Sunset's going to be around about 7:30, so God, I really hope it works out for us. All I'm going to do here is just make my way up the hike, up towards the peak, and basically just try and scope out some decent compositions, and then whichever one becomes my favorite, I can always head back down. The best image isn't necessarily going to be at the top of the mountain, so yep, I can head back down and take that composition, take that image at sunset when we're going to get the best light, of course. So let's crack on with the hike.
Something's wrong, I waited up, wounds on my feet. Where will you be? Flickering through memories, the Polaroids yellowed in the sun, longing to be seen. So come and hide with me, hide with me, hide with me.
So I think I'm about halfway up, maybe 3/4, and maybe I'm just being hopeful, but it's a hell of a hike. It's really difficult. It's pretty advanced. Knackered, to be honest. The landscapes are amazing though, so that's what's keeping me going, and I just know it's going to be beautiful at the top. It's already beautiful now, but yeah, not really seen many compositions, I don't think. Lots of snapshot opportunities, I think, but for now I'm just going to chill out, have some noodles, and just try and get a bit of energy back. So I'm set up for my first image here now, but the light isn't ideal in the foreground. The light is gorgeous in the background, pretty much perfect for this time of day at least. So I'm just going to sit around and just hope that the sun comes from sort of behind this cloud and we get a break in the foreground and just a little bit of light, just to add a bit of interest and drama to the foreground and to these sort of jagged peaks here. I think it'll do so much more for the image. I'm actually using a 10 stop on the front. This is really helping just to capture a small bit. It's still quite bright, so it's not doing a whole lot, but it's capturing a small bit of movement in the clouds. And because it's windy, the lake, even from up here, isn't very smooth, so it's just helping to smooth out that lake, which is lovely. There's nothing sort of moving in the foreground that's going to lose detail because of it. You might notice as well, this is not a Nissi filter. This is a screw-on filter that I've got from a company called Breakthrough Photography, and they're based in San Francisco. And on their website they say that they have 0 color cast in their neutral density filters. And so far, I've had this now for about 2 weeks, and it is phenomenal. It's really, really good. Personally, I'd prefer to have a 100mm ND filter, just so I can fit it into my Nissi 100mm system that I've got for this camera. But that's just personal preference, and the screw-on is actually really, really good. And obviously, I didn't actually know this, so I may as well mention it. Obviously, on the front of your lens, you've got a bit of thread to put this on, and then this also has thread as well, so I can still put on my 100mm filter system if I want to. So, you know, it's not too bad in that sense. So with this image, I'm going to take 2 exposures because it's pretty bright in the background. I'm shooting at f9 ISO 100, and for my foreground I'm going to shoot at 6 seconds, and that's going to be sorry, that's for my background. For my background, I'm going to shoot at 6 seconds because it's so bright in the background. So that means the foreground, yeah, that looks pretty good. The foreground is massively underexposed, but the background looks lovely. So this is kind of like an alternative to using an ND grad filter. And then for my foreground, I'm probably going to shoot at about 20 seconds, which is awesome. And like I said before, the 6 seconds it's got me for that background in the lake, it's just allowed me to capture a bit of the movement in the lake and the sky. It just adds a bit of drama to the image overall. So pretty good image, I think. So guys, I'm not actually even at the top yet. I think it's another probably 15 minutes. I can just see it up that way, but I've had to stop here because I want to do a panorama, and this is just perfect for panorama landscape photography. Pretty similar to my last image actually. I've got another, this is a completely different foreground by the way, but another sort of craggy peak going across diagonally into the lake, and then the background just speaks for itself. So I think I'm going to shoot probably 4, 5, maybe even 6 images across from right to left, and obviously shooting in portrait, as you can see, each image separately. So I don't really need to go into too much detail. With regards to the right hand side, I don't want to go too far because it gets a little bit boring. The landscape cuts off the lake. What's better here is the clouds have sort of disappeared and the sun isn't blocked. So as you can see, these peaks that are going down diagonally are catching some absolutely gorgeous sort of evening or late afternoon light on the peak. So it makes for a much better image than my last one, I feel, purely just because of the light. And the light in the background is wonderful. So yeah, like I said, probably 5 images across. And it's not ideal on this iPod. It's not ideal on this iPod. Because I'd love to have an L bracket so that I could just clip my camera to the front of the to the top of the tripod, instead of having it to the side like this, it's just a little bit more difficult, but it's fine. So it's looking like it's going to be 5 images, because I want to catch these sort of snow peaks on the left hand side as well. Wonderful stuff, and the light is just so beautiful, golden light. So I think that's going to be an alright image, guys. Let me know what you think. Made it to the top, guys. Absolutely stunning views, so beautiful. I hope that you can see all of that. So panoramic. On arrival, it's just like, I don't think I'm going to stay up here to take my sunset image. It's absolutely gorgeous up here, and there's absolutely no doubt in that, but I've got one idea for an image in mind for just now whilst I'm up here, but for the sunset, I just don't think I want to take an image up here. There's nothing in the foreground, to be honest. I've got this sort of rock down here. That's the only sort of thing that I can find. I guess I could try and incorporate the post here at the top of the peak, but no, I'm just not really feeling it for the sunset image. So I'm going to take this one image up here now, guys. I'm going to get set up, and then hopefully find something decent on the way back down. So guys, I'm set up for this image here, and it is a nice simple image. The only thing is there's a huge dynamic range. I'm shooting into the sun. The sun is actually going to be in the image. It's going to be in the composition, which means that I'm going to do 2 exposures, and then what I'm going to do when I get home to do my post-processing, I'm just going to blend the 2 images together. So my first image, I'm going to start with the foreground. So obviously I want my foreground to be nice and bright. So I'm even going to focus on the foreground, because I know that this image is just for it. I'm shooting at f9, and for my foreground, what I'm going to do is put my hand over the sun, because I'm getting a lot of sort of sunspots and lens flare and stuff like that. Put my hand over the sun, literally in the composition. That gets rid of all the sunspots and stuff like that. And it means that I can expose for the foreground much easier. So 1/60th of a second for the foreground, and that's perfect. And so for my background, obviously I'm going to deliberately underexpose. So looking at my meter, I'm looking at probably about 1/400th of a second, somewhere around that. And then, like I say, blend the 2 images together. And also, sorry, I'm going to focus on the background as well for this image. So guys, I'm going to shoot my sunset image here, and it's probably about 10 minutes before the actual sunset, but we haven't got much interest in the sky with regards to clouds, so I'm just trying to catch the light on the ridges of the mountains over there in the background. I think it looks fantastic. So I'm going to do a panoramic, and the reason is because we've got this waterfall here, or it's just like a little stream coming out, and I want that to be my foreground, but I want that to be my background. But obviously the angle isn't right. I can't shoot it all in one shot. That's the only reason I'm doing a panoramic, really. So all I'm doing is making sure I've got my exposure right, starting here, which will be the background for the panorama. And this is obviously going to be on the left hand side, so I think it's going to look really cool. It's going to go from foreground to background, from left to right, so it's a little bit unconventional. Usually your foreground would be in sort of the bottom third, so I think it'll look pretty cool anyway. So I've just got my polarizer on the front, just to make the colours pop on the top of the mountain there, them sort of reddy pinks, no other reason. And for my foreground, the exposure is going to be a little bit higher, which is good because I want to capture the movement in that little waterfall. So we're looking at about 1/6 of a second for the foreground shots on the left hand side. And then as I move across, I'm just going to keep taking the shot. And then when I get to the background, I will decrease the exposure, decrease the shutter speed, just because it doesn't need to be so bright back there. I really want to capture them colours on the mountains, and to do that I really want to make sure that I don't overexpose. So hopefully that turns out well. Let me know what you think, guys. So I'm going to head back down to my car now, guys. That was an absolutely awesome adventure. Thanks for sharing it with me. If you enjoyed the video today and you'd like to see some more, then please consider subscribing. That would really mean a lot to me. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.